What's up, guys? Welcome and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I got two Warlock builds for you that are taking over the game, and there's a really good reason why. So Bungie recently made some buffs to Warlock, including making their turrets stack with your grenade stat. So there's a build going on right now where you have multiple turrets that are just doing crazy amount of damage. I want to show you that build, and it starts with the Getaway Artist. So this exotic allows you to eat your arc grenade, and it creates a little arc buddy for you that's buffed up, does more damage, and this now stacks with your grenade stat. So all that extra damage that you're getting from your grenade stat, 200 grenade stat gives you 65% PvE damage buff. It kills anything that thing aims at. Red bars demolished, majors demolished, champions eats their health like crazy. So that's the first part of this that you definitely want to throw on. You need to have Getaway Artist, and you're going to want to be using Prismatic. So before we go into the subclass, let's look at the stats. Obviously you want 200 grenade stat because you want as much damage as you can get on these turrets. Secondly, you want to build into your super. Now right now I only have 100 super, that's the most I can get, but if you can reach those higher tiers of super, definitely go ahead and do that, so you buff not only your grenades but your super as you're using it. That's definitely what you want to do. And then secondly, you want to buff your class ability. Now you may be wondering, why my class ability? I'll show you right now, because there's a couple variations to this build that are good in some ways and good in others, right? So let's get into the subclass. Now the artifact mods don't really matter, at least for me. The only one that I think will matter is Shield Crush, but we'll go and take a look at that in a little bit, and I'll let you know. Here's our subclass. So as you can see, I'm rocking Feed the Void, which will give us Devour on any ability kill. Very important. That's going to be healing us. And Hellion. So Hellion lets you use your class ability. You get the little solar buddy, you eat your grenade, you get the arc buddy, and they just tear into any enemies that are around. So the variation that I'm talking about is, instead of using Feed the Void, you could use Bleak Watcher. Now Bleak Watcher is another aspect that lets you eat your grenade, and you get a stasis turn that also stacks with your grenade stat. Why would you want to do this? Well, if you're crazy, you will do this because you have not only your arc turret, you could also have your solar turret, and then you have a Bleak Watcher turret that's also doing all this crazy damage. That's 3 turrets out on the field doing damage. That's really strong. However, you don't have the healing ability of Feed the Void. You won't have Devour as often, and it can get a little dicey. But if you rock Phoenix Dive and you have a high class stat, it doesn't matter. You'll just Phoenix Dive, get your healing, get that cure. You could use Heal Clip. You could run a Nova Bomb and then run Facet of Purpose here if you want, so that every time you pick up an orb, you get Devour. Right? There are ways around not using Feed the Void. However, for the consistency that I like, I chose to run Feed the Void, because then I don't have to worry about all that. I can run other aspects, other weapons. I can run Song of Flame, so I get that huge damage out of that super. So Feed the Void is my choice when you're using this. If you want to go crazy and you want to have the 3 turrets, definitely use it. It's strong. But for me, if I'm running content by myself, high-end content, or I'm running pinnacles or whatever, and I want to just stay alive, definitely Feed the Void is the way to go. Now, if you're going to choose, I guess there's 3 versions of this build actually. It's a really pick and choose what you like. So for me, Hellion is important because I like to use my Phoenix Dive, keep me healthy, then I get Devour to continue that. If you don't want to use Hellion because you want to double dip instead of having to invest both your grenade and your class ability, if you change out Hellion for Bleak Watcher, you can double dip your grenade. So you eat your grenade, it'll create the arc turret, and it'll pop out a stasis turret at the same time. Then you can use your Phoenix Dive for when you really need the health. Say Devour's not healing you enough, there's a lot of things going on, or you're getting real big damage. You can pop your Phoenix Dive, get that boost of healing, and continue on. That play style, however, takes a little bit more strategy, because your turret, your stasis turret, and your Bleak Watcher will pop out wherever you pop your arc buddy with Getaway Artist. So whereas the arc buddy will follow you around wherever you go and keep doing damage, the stasis turret will not. The stasis turret will pop out, stay there wherever it lands, and do damage from that spot. So you have to kind of make sure that your stasis turret is in an area where you can see enemies, where you can see the boss you're fighting, or whatever it is. So for me, I like to run around, I like to run and gun. So Hellion just works better for me. But if you do like that kind of strategic style of Warlock, where you know you're gonna get into a spot, pop your super, your grenade, let the stasis turret sit there, and then move around the stasis turret, then by all means you could use that. And then you got freezing and you got damage. So it just depends on what you like. I like Hellion, that's what I'm using. Obviously you got to use your arc grenade so that Getaway Artist works. Here I have Arcane Needle here. I was experimenting, and I think I like the stasis melee better. Since I'm not using Bleak Watcher, this just gives me an option to freeze things if I need to. Stuff like unstoppable champions if I'm not rocking a hand cannon or a sidearm, which I usually don't right now because Mint is just goated. So Penumbral Blast lets me take care of that. I can freeze them, they shatter, I get the stun, stuff like that. So for your fragments, Faceted Protection to give you more protection when you're around things. Mending to give you cure from grenade final blows. Faceted Sacrifice, so while you have an arc, solar, or void buff, ability final blows grant bonus darkness transcendence energy. So you will have Devour pretty much all the time. As you can see, that is a light buff, so your darkness transcendence energy will fill up pretty quickly, especially since I'm using Hellion and Getaway Artist, which are both light abilities. So my light bar will get filled really quickly, and this will help me get my darkness bar filled up also. And then here, Faceted Defiance is just here for a stat buff. My class ability isn't very high, so this helps me bring up my stat. However, if I do a finisher, I get that explosion. If you don't want to use this, if you're using, say, Hellion and Bleak Watcher at the same time, you could run Faceted Ruin, so you get bigger solar ignitions and bigger stasis shatters. That is an option. However, like I said, I need the class buff. If you have a lot of stats, if you have a lot of grenade stats, and you can get 200, if you can get 220 overall, definitely run Faceted Dominance, because this gives you, or 220, sorry, 210. This takes 10 grenade stat away from you, so I can't use it because I don't want to throw a font mod on. That is an option though. But this lets your Transcendence grenade weaken, so that is something that is pretty strong. And if you want to run a font mod, you say you hit 200, throw a font mod on, and then you could run this, and then you'll have enough, you'll keep your 200 stats, and you could run this. But like for me, I don't quite have those stats, so I'm not running it, but it is very, very strong. So that is pretty much the build. You could use whatever weapons you want. This build is all about ability kills, all about ability damage. Those turrets just smoke everything you run into. As for the artifact, Shield Crush here is going to be very, very good, because if you use a solar weapon along with Fever and Chill, you'll get Radiant, and Shield Crush will give you your grenade charge back faster, so that'll help you get your arc buddy back faster. And then you're always gonna have Devour and stuff, so you could run things, try to get an overshield, your melee will recharge faster. But this is all about grenades, right? Same thing here. Elemental Coalescence, defeating targets has a chance to create an elemental pickup matching your equip super, so that just helps you again with the getting the pickups, getting your energy back, all that stuff. And that's it. This build is super, super strong. It's really, really fun. It's going all around the community right now, and if you haven't tried it, you definitely should try it, because this thing has been amazing. I went back and met the Kepler finally, and I did all the strangelets, and I just popped my turrets, and I emoted while it just did all the damage for me. It was super fun, so definitely try it out. Now let's get into the second build I want to share with you guys today. Okay, so this is the second build that I think is a little less known in the Destiny world right now. I was using this right before the patch where they buffed the grenade stats and changed Controverse holds. It was really, really fun. And now it's even better. Now it's just insane. I would argue, for me, because I love Void Warlock, this one is more fun and better than the turret build. So as you can see, we're using Controverse holds here. Now my stats aren't as good as I'd want them to be. Obviously, I would love to have 200 grenade stat here and as much super as I can possibly get, but I don't have those stats. So with this one, I believe I'm not running a font mod because I don't have the room, but you can run a font mod, get your 200 stat. That's what you want to hit. You want to hit as much grenade stat as possible, super, and then you can choose between your class ability or your melee stat. Now I would probably lean class ability so you get that healing ref more often, but as you'll see right now with the setup, you're not gonna need it. So obviously Controverse hold here. It says you resist incoming damage while charging your void grenade with chaos accelerant. Charge void grenades, return grenade energy on hit, and apply weaken. Now something that they changed recently is Controverse holds now gives you 2 grenades, and it double procs on the grenade recharge rate for you, which is something that happened a while ago that they fixed, and then they undid that fix. So this is another grenade spam build. This build is really like Void Sunbracers. It's super strong. Now you may be wondering, what grenade are you going to be using? And there's 2 that I think you should try out. The first one, the one that's super, super strong, that I have been enjoying more than the other, even though the other is really, really strong, is Axion Bolts. So Axion Bolts, you charge them, you throw them, they split into 4 balls, and then they get enemies. Well, the Axion Bolt is so strong with Controverse holds, it just demolishes any enemies that you throw it into. You throw it into a group of enemies, you're gonna get your grenade back, and then you can throw another one. And it eats bosses, it eats majors, champions. It's so good. And you're not confined to having to arc your grenade correctly and hope that it lands where you want it to with something like vortex grenades. Now vortex grenades are really, really good also, but when it comes to everyday content or non-boss damage situations, you want to use Axiom bolts over vortex grenades. However, if you're going to run into a boss, say you're doing a raid and the boss is stationary or whatever, I then would probably swap to vortex grenades, because then you get the lingering damage over time rather than just a big burst, and you can still get enough energy to get your grenade back. So we're using chaos accelerant, obviously, because we're going to charge our nades and overcharge them, and then we're going to use feed the void to give us devour. This is why you don't need the class ability all that much. You can lean into melee if you want, because devour is going to be constantly proc, just like the last build. You're going to be throwing nades, you're going to get those kills, and then you're just going to chain that, and you're going to be constantly having devour. You're going to constantly be destroying everything, and it just works well. Now if you do lean into your class ability and you don't, or say you do lean into your class ability and you don't want to use feed the void because for whatever reason, and you use child of the old gods, this counts as a turret. So from the last build where your turrets now stack with your grenade stat, this is also going to be doing that amount of damage. So if you hit 200 grenade stat, not only are you going to be having your Controverse hold doing crazy damage, but your child of the old god is also going to be doing crazy damage. But like I said, feed the void is just the go-to. It's super strong. Devour is amazing. So I don't know why you would ever swap off of this, but if you do, it's not going to be that bad. For super, I like to use vortex because I want to throw it and get the damage over time. You can use whatever super you want. For your fragments, run harvest. Defeating weakened target creates a orb of power and avoid breach. So your Controverse hold is going to be weakening right? So you're going to get an orb of power and a void breach. Remnants, so that your grenades last longer. Instability, so your grenades grant volatile rounds to your void weapons. Now, if you're not rocking a void weapon, you can definitely run something like this. Defeating a volatile target creates a void breach, so you get more void breaches. You could run melee final blows, start health regeneration for you. You could run something like final blows while you're surrounded. Combatants grant super energy, although you're gonna be getting your super pretty quickly anyway. And then finally, Echo of Expulsion, void ability final blows cause targets to explode. This one is just for me, whatever your grenade doesn't hit and kill, like Axiom Bolt, you're gonna get 4 targets. When those targets explode, they will chain react and hit other targets with the explosion, and then you can throw your next grenade. This is just really fun for me, and then a super buff is obviously great. So again, for your artifact, Shield Crush is going to be good here. You're going to be getting Void over Shields with your Void Breaches. You're going to be Radiant because you're using a Solar secondary or Solar primary, and then defeating targets has a chance to create an elemental pickup. So this is another crazy build that I think most people aren't talking about, but I really like this build. This is replacing, or I guess I shouldn't say replacing right now, the Strand build, because the Strand build is still really strong with the artifact. However, if I get bored of the Strand build, I run this build, and I have been running this build over the Turret build because I just like Void Warlock more. But anyway, that's the video. Let me know what builds Anyway, that's the video. Let me know what build you're using down in the comments below. And if you want to catch me live, go in the description, hit that Twitch link and drop a follow over there because we're streaming Destiny, we're streaming other games. I hope to see you over there, and I hope to catch you in the next video.